Hey sis, each month inside Entrusted Women University, we feature a brand new interview. You can watch the full interview only in Entrusted Women University, but you can check out this snippet right now.
Through a personal longtime friend, God specifically told me to reach out to this person. And this is after spending over a year of knocking on doors and disappointments. And I was at the point where I was ready to just forget trying to even publish the book. Like, I don't understand why you would entrust me with something, God, and then it would be so hard. And God gave me a moment to have another of my many tantrums. And then he said, I want you to reach out to so-and-so. And I wrestled. Lord, I've tried. I don't like seeming like I'm hanging on and, hey, do you have a hookup? Can you connect me? Like the pastor's kid, first lady in me does not ever want to come across like that. And yet God would not let me go. Reach out to so-and-so, Dorena. And I finally said, yes, kind of pouty, like, okay, God. But I reached out to this individual, and his wife is an author with B&H. And he got back to me enthusiastically about 2 weeks after I reached out. So there was that delay of, see, God, I reached out, nothing happened.
Hey, Entrusted women, how are you? I hope that you are doing well. I am so excited about this interview because I'm here with my friend. This is not just an interview. This is my friend, Dorena. Hey, Dorena.
Hey, Kia.
Now, Dorena has been such a supporter for Entrusted Women and for me. Even this little sign that's in the back, that was for our first retreat. She made the gifts for the speakers, hand did these. She just has gone above and beyond. And then when I got my book deal, Dorena sent me some swag, y'all. I mean, nice swag in the mail. So she is just an encourager. She's there on text messages. She's in the Facebook thread. She's just all of that. So outside of her being just amazing as an author and her story, I can't wait to dive into. She's just a great person. I think we all know those people that are like, you know what, she is great. So that is Dorena. But let me just share her bio with you, her humble bio with you, and then we're going to dive into some questions. So Dorena Williamson, make sure you don't say Williamson, is a best-selling author who writes children's books that adults need too. Yes and amen. She is a longtime bridge builder, a co-planter of Strong Tower Bible Church. And if you follow her anywhere, you have seen her and her husband just as cute as a button, and a stylist. Y'all, she's always fly. With fashion brand Ever Eve.
That's correct. Yes. Ever Eve. Uh-huh.
Okay, and she's married to Dr. Chris Williamson, and they have 4 teenage and adult children. Welcome, Dorena.
Thank you so much, Kia. I'm so happy that we're doing this. And let me give a disclaimer so that no one reaches out to me and asks me about that beautiful lettering sign. So I know where my gifts are. And one of my gifts is finding people who can do things that I cannot. And so the lettering sign, I actually didn't do the letters myself. I, secured a gal who did, and she hand did those for all of you wonderful speakers for that first retreat. And it was such a delight to see them and to know, I didn't know you would display it like you have, which always touches my heart. It was really it was that statement to say, yes, you are an entrusted woman. And I love that that's who we are. That's what we stand for. And so every time I see that, it's just a reminder that yes, you are. Yes, I am. Yes, we all are entrusted. So shout out to my friend's wonderful daughter who does that great calligraphy. And so I just wanted to make sure I don't take any credit where credit is not due.
I see that humility just comes it all out. That's what she is, and that's why she stays blessed. You know what? And I'm also thinking your daughter did that image in the background, didn't she?
Yes, she did. That's my baby girl, Chase. Chase paints. She's a college student who is flowing in her gift. So we both get to flow together. And it's really delightful because I'm, as a mother, of course, you've got that, oh, this is my child and I'm so proud of her. But the big picture is as I'm learning to flow and God is pouring forth what he's entrusted to me, she's owning as a 20-year-old what God's entrusted to her. And I just loved that she did that. And I thought, I'm just going to have that up so that people can see her gift. And also it just matches the decor. So, that practical aspect too.
Yeah, as we're getting ready to dive into your journey with children's books, I think that it's important to note that Chase got a chance to be the illustrator for Trillia Newbell's recent book. What is it? God? Can you give me the title?
Creative God, Colorful Us.
Creative God, Colorful Us.
Yes.
To see some of Chase's work there and know that she is a product of Chris and Dorena. So now, Dorena, when we think about you, we kind of see you everywhere. We see you with B&H. We see you with IVP. We see you with your book deal with Waterbrook, Penguin Random House.
Yes, Waterbrook is their imprint of Penguin. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So somebody might be like, "Oh my gosh, she is like doing a whole lot," and that's amazing. But it didn't start there. Mm-hmm. So can you take us back to when writing was just a dream of yours, just an aspiration, maybe a glimmer? Maybe you didn't think it was going to happen. Can you take us back to that place in your life?
Oh, well, gosh, just hear you mention those publishers. It still feels like, wow, look at God. I mean, I am God's work on display, and we all are. It looks different for each one of us, but I quickly roll back to 2014 and 2015 when God had entrusted me. And I love that word that you have really coined for our community. I'd been entrusted, and I knew that they were words from God because I did not pursue writing as a vocation. My degree is in psychology counseling, so I didn't go to school to, pursue journalism or English or creative writing. But God had literally entrusted some seeds of thought to me. And as I saw things going on in culture, I saw young men like, Tamir Rice and, Trayvon Martin have their lives crushed under police brutality. And I mourned as a mother. And I also saw bridge builders and people in our faith community saying, well, I don't see color. And it had always bothered me, but it became like an agitation, like a holy agitation.
Yeah.
And so out of those things, out of seeing, Mattel's Barbie line expand with darker skin tones and, all those type of things going on in culture that affected me as a mother with daughters. And God entrusted me with seeds of thought. And I wrote them down thinking maybe it would be a blog. And I kept writing. The seeds kept coming. And I saw a book forming. And I've walked through imposter syndrome, which is a continued journey of me. Is this something I can do? What does it mean to be an author? What will people think when they find out that I'm an author? And worked through all of that and began the process of trying to learn what it means to query. What is that even? How do you write a manuscript? What's word count? All of the things. And
what does it mean to query? What does it mean to query?
What does it mean to query? What does it mean to begin to approach publishers with the story that you've written? So how do you do that? Or as someone reached out to me this week and said, can you introduce me to a couple of the publishers that you know? Because people just don't know. Like, how do you get a story from I've written it to it's out in book form, right? And just began that journey of seeing doors closed, of learning that people with small platforms don't have an easy process. If you're already a famous actress or a famous so-and-so, then it's not that hard. But if you're just ordinary bridge builder, church planner, wife, mama, stylist, how does that happen? And I just watched God open doors in his time. And it wasn't an easy process. It didn't happen overnight. I knocked on doors. I saw doors closed. I was disappointed. My dreams went up. They went down. My hopes flourished and then they crushed. And then in God's way and timing, he was pleased to open up a door with B&H to publish the 3 books that I have now out. And then again, in God's timing, again through disappointment, again through imposter syndrome, again through open and closed doors. God was pleased to open up new doors for the work that's yet to come.
And you know what? B&H is a really big publisher. It's Lifeway, it's Christian. The only author of color that is coming to mind presently would be Priscilla Schreier. I don't know if there are many more, so that's was a big publisher to start with, and with the content that you were going to be writing about. I don't know that they've published a lot of books on the subject of race. So the fact that you were kind of a breakout star a little bit with B&H, talking about a topic that is still very a faux pas, very much a faux pas in evangelicalism in the world. How on earth did that happen? What can you tell us about that story?
Sure. So everything you just said is on point. And someday I feel like I would love to write a book about that process, because it was God opening up the most unexpected door. I really, honestly, was putting more effort in pursuing non-Christian publishers because they aren't afraid to talk about race and skin color. And, thoughts of diversity, are different tangents depending on people's personal convictions and values. But for me, having this first book about not being colorblind, but celebrating our skin color, I would never have imagined that B&H Lifeway's door God would open. And but I'd gotten closed doors in all these other places. And the way it happened, without going into all the details, because we could take up the whole time with that story, but through a personal longtime friend, God specifically told me to reach out to this person. And this is after spending over a year of knocking on doors and disappointments. And I was at the point where I was ready to just forget trying to even publish the book. Like, I don't understand why you would entrust me with something, God, and then it would be so hard. And God gave me a moment to have another of my many tantrums. And then he said, I want you to reach out to so-and-so. And I wrestled. Lord, I've tried. I don't like seeming like I'm hanging on and, hey, do you have a hookup? Can you connect me? Like the pastor's kid, first lady in me does not ever want to come across like that. And yet God would not let me go. Reach out to so-and-so, Dorena. And I finally said, yes, kind of pouty, like, okay, God. And I reached out to this individual, and his wife is an author with B&H. And he got back to me enthusiastically about 2 weeks after I reached out. So there was that delay of, see, God, I reached out, nothing happened. And 2 weeks later, he said, I have someone that I want to connect you to. I didn't know what this lady did. I never heard of her, but he said, she knows you and your husband, and she is interested in multicultural material for B&H. And she'd love to connect. So I'm like, well, I can't say no, because God told me to reach out to him. And so she and I corresponded, planned to connect for lunch. And at lunch, a 2-hour lunch, at the end of the lunch, my family
What were y'all talking about? What were y'all
Well, she had wanted to hear about the books, but what I didn't know is she really wanted to know my story. She knew my husband and I because our churches had begun doing some fellowship together. Specifically, her white pastor had become friends with my Black husband, and he had begun being influenced more towards justice and speaking out. And so in his sermon content, as she sat in church, she's hearing things, and then our churches are fellowshipping. So she knows who Chris and I are, so knows me from that lane. But at lunch, she wanted to hear my story. And of course, what are you writing? And blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of, looking back, it was kind of an interview. Like, who are you? And, what is your content? And we had a 2-hour lunch. And I had no expectations because I've already been disappointed. I've already had my hopes up and down. So I'm going in kind of neutral. Like, maybe it's just a connection towards something else. I have no idea. I did not expect to leave that lunch and hear her say, after my family started texting me, like, how'd it go? It's been 2 hours. Like, they're waiting. Like, how come you haven't responded? And so I'm trying to be very, casual. Like, I'm so sorry. This is my child, my husband. They know I'm having lunch with someone today. And so she was like, well, call your family back and tell them you have a publisher.
Oh my God.
Now, what I didn't know is this lady, her name is Jennifer Lyell, and Jennifer was the publisher at Lifeway. So in my waiting, she had been moved from one place in Lifeway to a higher position where she was now in charge of, so ahead of an acquiring editor. That's usually who an author through their agent would get a manuscript to an acquiring editor. Well, she was over all of that. So she was the decision maker. So for her to say, call your family and tell them you have a publisher meant basically verbally, I had a publisher.
Yeah.
I don't have a contract. I haven't signed anything, but she had the authority to say that. And I did not expect to go into lunch and come out with that verbal, which did lead in the next 2 months, maybe 3 months, to actually signing a 3-book contract with them. She's no longer with Lifeway. She's had her own difficult journey, but God connected me. God connected me to someone who had a vision for me. And I think we were going to talk about that later, but that's what I really speak to, that opportunity, because you can't replicate that. Like, I can't tell people, well, go find someone to have lunch with and, but I can say the other people in the doors that were closed, those people didn't have a vision for what God had given me. Small platformed church planter, first lady. I didn't fit whatever you might think. And yes, Lifeway doesn't have many women of color. And they have not put material like this out. So I was like, okay, Lord, this isn't the door I expected, but I asked you to open a door for this story, and this is the door you're opening. So I'm going to walk in it, and I'm going to have to trust. And she was delightful to work with. And although she's not with Lifeway anymore, I will forever, we still stay in touch. And she's delighted to see how God continues to open doors, because as a white woman, she humbly sees that, not in a, I take responsibility kind of thing, because she knows she had a part in my story, right? But she certainly had a part in opening up a door for this Black woman to be able to begin a publishing journey that's now continuing in other directions.
Oh my gosh, that story is so Joseph-esque.
Yes.
Because it's like when God opened the door for Joseph went all the way from the dungeon to the palace.
Absolutely.
And to the person that could literally open the door and decree, this is who you're going to be from this point forward.
Yes.
So, and you know what, and I don't think I really realized this as I was telling you the story about my own self, because I too had given up on the book baby idea that I had, and was introduced to Andrea Doreen. I thought she wanted to do something with Entrusted Women. I was like, okay, we talked for 45 minutes. And at the end of that time, I like to say at the 46th minute, she was like, and so I decided, I learned about Kia Stevens, the leader of Entrusted Women. I also wanted to learn about Kia Stevens, the writer. And it was kind of one of those like, and so that beget my journey with publishing as well. And when I think about myself, I think about, some dark days leading up to where I am presently, of just discouragement or not thinking it would ever happen. Definitely, I can remember yelling at God saying, just take these visions, just take them away, and I will just be a teacher. I was a teacher at that time. I was like, I will just be a teacher, and I will just be a wife and a mother, which is enough. And I don't have to fool around with these visions that are pretty much stalking me and haunting me. They're not happening. Nothing is manifesting. And I don't know, I'm dealing with this. Can you elaborate on that? And then we're going to jump back into post book deal. And 3-deal book deal, that's a big deal too. People don't normally get 3-deal book deals either.
It is. And I will say, one of the things that I learned, I'm jumping way ahead, Kia, but we just merging it all. It's all part of the flow.
The outline. We just do something else.
It is. I will say one of the most powerful things about the season of waiting to get my first book contract is in the waiting, I continued writing. And now what I learned with children's books specifically, and some other much more eloquent people, knowledgeable, could share if this applies to all genres. But obviously, my area is kids books. Publishers want to know more of your content. So rarely are they looking for, again, unless you're celebrity person already, they want to know, what else have you written? And that happened again with my Waterbrook conversation. It was, okay, so here's the story you presented, and what else are you working on? And so I knew that they want to hear your journey. They want to know kind of what's the body of work that you're bringing to the table. And if God had opened up the first door that I knocked on, I mean, in his time, I could have written more, but in the waiting, I continued writing. And so the one book story that I started with started growing to, there's some other story ideas that could kind of have connection, different content, but kind of be connected. So at any rate, yes, 3 books is a big deal. And that's what God did in the midst of that waiting season.
I hope you enjoyed that interview snippet, and I want you to be sure and check out Entrusted Women University by visiting membership.entrustedwomen.com to see the interviews in their entirety. And join us next week for more content to help you on your writing and speaking